Hello, everyone. Hello, Salomé. Thank you for
Hi.
your film, for being here. Welcome to this Q&A, this little conversation that we're having around your marvelous film, Taming the Garden. I have some questions for you. I just, before the questions, I would like to make a brief introduction to our audience about you, to give a little bit of context, and then we can begin. Salomé Jashi was born in Tbilisi, Georgia. Her documentary, The Dazzling Light of Sunset, was awarded the main prize at Visions Jurel Noif competition, as well as at Zagreb Docs, Jilava, Valdivia, and several other festivals. Her previous work, Bakmaro, received an honorary mention at Doc Leipzig, was awarded as the best documentary at Jilava, and was nominated for the Asia Pacific Screen Awards. Jashi is also the founder of two production companies, Sakdok Film and Microcosmos. I was reading your website, Salomé, and there are some words that I guess are your words about yourself that it gave me light to understand some things, and the words are the following. I mean, it is a word like describing yourself. Salomé Jashi is a documentary filmmaker, video maker in quest of subversive elements of life. I think in Taming the Garden, this is really clear, and in a way, these words makes me think about your background as journalists. I understand you worked as a journalist, a reporter, and after taking a look to your film, I would like to ask you, how do you use journalism in documentary filmmaking, and in particular in Taming the Garden, which is a film where images are speaking by themselves, no? Like most of the time.
So you ask how I use my background in journalism in this film.
Yeah.
So first of all, I thank you very much for selecting this film to I'm really happy that the audience in Mexico was able to watch this film. It's really an honor. And it's funny that I'm really on the other side of the world speaking to you right now. So my first activity, so to say, my first profession was journalism, and I worked for evening news as well as morning news and weekly news, and it was a really interesting experience because I realized that as a journalist you need to take like reality, so to say, in front of you, and then put it into some kind of 2 or 3 minutes piece, and sell it as like unbiased, objective reporting, and then give it to like thousands of viewers. And this I found not very fair, because I don't think it's possible to take like big reality, which is never really objective, and then put it into something small and sell it as something. This is the truth. So I opted for this genre of documentary filmmaking because it kind of gave me more possibility to express myself, and not just myself, to express my vision of the world. And maybe this is how I used my background, is that I don't know, I kind of left my former career in the past and came to this totally like different kind of expression. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Well, your film is full of powerful and evocative images, one of which is a gigantic tree floating in the sea while being transported by a boat. This is like very captivating image, like an image that tells a story in itself. And was this image the origin of the film, and why did you choose this story?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, some time ago, the whole Georgia, all of my country witnessed one very strange image. And that was exactly this tree, like another tree, but it doesn't matter, a tree floating in the sea. And this image straight away, it went viral. We had this information that we had this prime minister and the oligarch who was the political leader, so to say, who we knew that he had this hobby, that he wanted to take a century-old tree to his plant it next to his house by the seaside. But when we saw this image, it was so striking. It was so unimaginable. On the one hand, it was beautiful, but on the other hand, it was. It made me think of very many things, not just beauty. Yeah, and I think this was really the starting point. Then I went there. We started to film a little bit, and first I thought I would make a short film out of this, but yeah, then it turned out that it's not just one tree. Then that there would be many more trees, and yeah, so so we finally worked on this film for like we were filming for about 2 years span.
2 years. Okay. How did you get the permit, to shoot all these? I don't know if this was difficult, and also how was your method to work with the people, no? And to get this high level of intimacy?
Well, it was a long process, both the access and to the works and the access to the people. And I think the access to the people was more difficult because since trees somehow became political, since speaking about trees meant speaking about expressing yourself freely about politics, finally. So people were a bit scared to speak. They didn't want to put themselves in trouble. So we had, I think there were many stories that remained like behind the fences because there were so many other stories, but many people were just closed down. They were scared to appear in front of the camera. But with others, it was different. Sometimes it was just being on the spot, on the right place for them to kind of feel fine to express at a certain moment, or we would visit them several times or many times and they would just know us or they have heard about us, so they kind of felt fine. But in terms of the access to the works, it was different. We had, with my researcher, we worked a lot to create some kind of a web of contacts. So first we went to one location, one construction location. We met some workers there, and we would hear about another location. We would go there. We would say that, oh, we just filmed your friends and the other team, so can we also film here? And then if we would find a way to film there or meet a person, know their name, we would go to a third construction team, tell them, oh, we met this guy there, and kind of, it was more, we tried to get familiar, and we tried to kind of integrate in their work, not work, in their personal connections. So when one team would see that we were allowed to film somewhere else, they would allow to film us there as well. So at the end, I don't know. At the end, I think we kind of gained some kind of trust on the levels that they would even call us when there was a major thing happening. They would call us, and we were always in touch with the main engineer. And I also think at certain point they thought it's also in their interest to make this film because they were very proud of what they were doing. I don't mean the billionaire, I mean the engineers, because technically what they're doing is quite unique. So they were kind of making an accent on this work rather than the idea of what was happening.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine they were proud of what they were doing. No, it's
yes,
no, it's really impressive.
Yeah, they're very proud of it.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of impact to see all these images and to see all this activity happening on screen. It's like it's unique, and also I remember an interview that you gave. I don't remember with whom, but many of these images you name them like real life poetry, you know, and I agree, you know, it's are beautiful images, but at the same time they are terrible, you know, of what they
yes, exactly.
have at the background. I mean, and throughout the film, you have this, as spectator, you have this feeling, you know, and so I mean, how would you describe, I mean, your style? Because it's clear that you are very like worried about the detail in the images, you know, like each of the scenes have like a lot of information and many like levels of lecture. So I don't know if you have like clear influences that you would like to mention, or how would you describe your style, you know, to make this film?
Yeah. Well, I don't. What I really, what I'm looking for when I film is exactly the details. I think the details build up the content of the film, and I don't think it's just the story that we see. It's not just the character that we follow, but rather like small small parts, small details in the frame really build up. It gives it tells a story. Not a narrative story, but yeah, it generates a content. So what I really enjoy to do is exactly to generate this content, not to take what I see and kind of try to depict it the way it is, but rather in a way to use it to create another layer, another part of the story. And for me, this it's really exciting to do exactly this, to take kind of a fact and then to build on this fact something else, which is more of an idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I enjoy filming in wide shots, in wide angle, because this is what kind of gives first it gives a kind of, to me it gives a sensation of being present there, but also being distant, like being an observer from a little bit far away. It gives a possibility to have several elements and details be in the frame at the same time and to create this sub-contents. Yeah, and I enjoy when the pacing is kind of is not fast. I cannot say it's very slow. For some people, it might be very slow, but there are films that are much slower. But yeah, I like when it takes time, when a frame takes time to unfold, and as it's not like montage, to me it creates more like a sense of reality in a way, or being present at a certain moment without being like cut, or like standing from this side and from the other side and from the other side. It's like you just stand there and you watch what is happening.
Yeah, very great. Yeah, your film it talks about many things besides environmental and ecological issues, I think. The film invites to think about well, environment and landscape, but also invites to think about other issues such as economy, maybe within the communities. Actually, the communities depicted in your film are not far from a certain Mexican way of living. So it's, I mean, for a Mexican audience, I think it's very interesting, you know, to expose them to this film. So which other concepts or themes were you interested in highlighting when shooting and editing Taming the Garden?
Yeah. Yeah, one vision, so to say, that I had, which we tried to put a little bit in the film, was very much a physical violence, even a sexual violence. So in a way, the trees, taking these trees to me was a little bit reminiscent of rape. So we used certain elements from the works to kind of illustrate it, not very directly and explicitly, like, but for example, when the pipes are drilled under the tree, we were thinking, or I was thinking at least, or with the editor, which was what we were trying to create, this sensation of penetration, like nonstop penetration. Or yeah, it was, or I think also at the end, when the trees are standing there, and it's like a triumph of the owner, of the new owner. We also wanted to have, like, create this kind of erotical sensation. So that was one thing that was kind of one other subcontent, or like more like the other, like another narrative we were bringing in there. But yeah, the film speaks about many things. I think it's true. It's about economy, and it's about the power. First of all, it's about what can happen when somebody has a very big power and nobody can resist, and everybody agrees to fulfill it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's of a huge impact, you know, and I mean, what is happening, like, Salome, I mean, to us as human beings, you know, and as society, because I mean, just would like to know, like, your point of view, because for these things to happen, I mean, I'm not talking about like the huge logistic and production of unrooting ancient trees and transporting them and replanting them, but I'm more talking about like the hobby of this person. I mean, why is this happening, like, in our world? Or do you think this is like the repetition of history, and that power has always been like manifesting or expressing itself like this?
Well, it's a big question. It's a big question, and of course, it's a philosophical question, and I can answer only part of it. I think it's really something that can be discussed for a long time, and in many directions. I think it's kind of this film, even if it tells a very local story here in Georgia, it is quite universal, because everywhere in the world we know there are powerful people who own the majority of the wealth of the world, and who then do what they wish, they do what they desire. And but the other thing is that we also, who are on the other side, in certain cases we also comply, or we don't have any other option, or we make this kind of Faustian deal that we get some kind of benefit, and then we agree on their desires. Yeah, I think this film, or the story rather, it represents a very big injustice that is happening in the world. And I think in Mexico it's also very clear, this division, and these people with very much power and people who are totally powerless.
Yes, completely. And in a way, it's obscene, like this contrast. And yeah, Mexico is like a good example of this.
But I think, I mean, I don't know, of course, there's not an easy solution out of this, but I think we should find a strength, like, who are on the other side, to resist it, and to kind of make the right choices, not to give power to those who would then use this power in a not ethical way, if possible.
Yeah, if possible. Salome, I would like to talk a little bit about the tree as a symbol, you know. Well, not talk about it, ask you about it. The tree as a symbol, it's been present throughout all the history of mankind, and it's a very strong, you know, and the tree is been close to our lives since always. But you know, after making this film, you know, the tree for you has changed, like the meaning, you know, of how do you see trees nowadays after making this film?
I haven't. Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't thought about how I perceive trees now. Now, for me, trees are not stable anymore. They were always like fundamental. We had a village house when I was a kid, and we had like maybe 3 great trees there. One was for climbing. It was it had beautiful branches. It was great to sit inside with, like, for us kids. And then another tree was kind of to sit under. There was a table, so we would have family dinners under this tree. And there was another tree, walnut tree, which was kind of a pillar of the yard. It was the biggest tree, and at some point it died, and they had to cut it down. And it was like one of the saddest things I remember from my childhood. So a tree is something like that you really rely on. It's I don't know, like we say like it's connected to life, but it's not just life. It's like stability, and you rely on it. Yeah, it's something you rely on it. When I first saw the tree moving as we were filming, I felt dizzy, and I had a sensation of vomiting. Even if I knew that the tree would move, still this pillar shook so much, I kind of sick. Yeah, and maybe it's not exactly the answer to your question, how I see trees now, but it is something that it's kind of a symbol of something that has fundamentally been shaken in us. Not just because of this particular case of moving the trees, but because of the world politics. I think also, like I think in all the world we're kind of experiencing this phase of total instability, and yeah, like uncertainty.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I connect trees more to to something else, not what I used to connect it before.
Yes, no, I also thought a lot about that while watching your film, and it's unrooting these gigantic and ancient trees. It's so violent, you know, and the impact in the community, you know, in the people is huge, no, and they don't even know what is going to happen after. Yeah, some of them agreed, no, to sell the tree, and that's it. But afterwards, all the things that happened to the community is like very shocking, you know, and to see this in parallel while the trees are being transported, you know, while all these crazy logistic, and it's really shocking. You know, your film. I would like to congratulate you and thank you. Give you thanks again for your film. It's an honor to have it in the competition of FICUNAM. So thank you, Salome. I don't know if you would like to say one more thing. Just to close this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy that the film is in your program and the audiences in Mexico can see it. I'm really happy. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Salome.
And good luck with the festival.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.